Okay. Before we have our quiet time, let's all get on the same page. If you're reading from the Sparkly Book, it's page 402, a new section entitled The Forgiven World. If you're reading from the second edition, it's page 352, same new section. In the first edition, it's page 328. In the JCIM, it's page 168. And if you're reading from the CIMS edition, it's page 338. In all cases, a new section entitled The Forgiven World. Okay. Let's take a few moments to be quiet together. Good evening. And welcome to everyone who's joining us on the internet. Well, we're reading from a chapter entitled Forgiveness and Healing. And we've been talking for a few weeks about what you might call radical healing, haven't we? The changing of apparently dangerous elements into benign but still functioning elements. The healing of damage, whether from injury or from germs or from radioactive isotopes, radioactivity. Whether it's the changing of water that has been, which has become impure. We've talked about the expectation of correction of illusions. Not as a pleasant, dreamy idea, but as an actual measurable fact. It's very appropriate to be talking about these things at this time, being Easter. After all, if you have tissue that has been damaged, that is healed, isn't that resurrection? If something is returned to its natural, normal, perfect state when it had before been imperfect, is that return to excellence not resurrection? It is. Forgiveness and healing. They're inseparable, really. Get it? I'm not blasting you with it. I'm not making it sound great and important, but it is simply profound. When there is healing, when something abnormal has been returned to its state of normalcy, resurrection has occurred. And always when that happens, it happens as the result of a simple act: forgiveness. The simple act of forgiveness is accomplished by what? The two-step that we've been talking about. That point at which, no matter what is going on, no matter what is confronting you, you stop, you silence your thinking mind. And in the silence, you reach out beyond your thinking mind to the Father, to the Holy Spirit, to inquire what is the truth here. Now, the simple fact is that the willingness to know what is true in spite of what is confronting you, in spite of what you have been conditioned to believe is happening, in which you are projecting on the event. You want to know the truth from a source that knows the truth, and that is forgiveness. When you stop holding a circumstance or an individual to a concept you have, you are forgiving that circumstance or that individual. You are forgiving polluted water. You are forgiving those who knowingly or unknowingly caused the pollution to happen. And in the desire to know what is the truth about the water or the condition and those that caused the condition, you are abandoning your commitment to, your conviction about what those things are, and that abandonment with inquiry to know the truth beyond your perception is forgiveness. Forgiveness, practiced genuinely, always results in correction, always results in healing, always results in resurrection. It's a law. It is absolute. There is no variation to it. And you can depend upon it. But you won't depend upon it if you don't embrace what will initially be the idea or the concept. You will say, resurrection is impossible. Damage is permanent. No forgiveness there. Because there is no curiosity to see beyond the definition or meaning you're applying to everything. And so, you hold what is, in actuality, the kingdom of heaven, in bondage to a limited perception that you're applying to the kingdom of heaven that makes it look like a material world and universe. It's that simple. How do you get past a material world and universe? By forgiving it. By withdrawing the meanings you apply with commitment to the kingdom of heaven, causing you to see it through a glass darkly. That simple. This means that every single moment and every encounter you have with everything is Easter morning, is the time for resurrection to occur, the place for resurrection to occur. But you've got to let resurrection in. You've got to allow it to be part of your day, part of your encounter with each and everything. Now, I know that presently there is so much wrong going on in your world, so much negativity, so much that seems dire and threatening, that it seems impossible to conceive of resurrection occurring. It seems like it will be almost impossible to have a long, drawn-out resurrection, much less an instantaneous shift of perception that registers in a recordable fashion in the world as the world, and which would be called recognizing the kingdom of heaven right where you are. But it's time for this. And as I said last week, it better be part of your embrace of A Course in Miracles. Now, this next section is entitled The Forgiven World. Not just a forgiven leaf or a forgiven spouse or a forgiven ant that just bit you, but a forgiven world. Now, it begins by saying, can you imagine how beautiful those you forgive will look to you? Well, why would it be beautiful? Because resurrection will have occurred, and you'll be seeing it in its perfection. Can you imagine how beautiful those you forgive will look to you? In no fantasy have you ever seen anything so lovely. Nothing you see here, meaning in your ignorance, sleeping or waking, comes near to such loveliness. And I'm going to add, in spite of the loveliness that you do see. In no fantasy have you ever seen anything so lovely. Nothing you see here, sleeping or waking, comes near to such loveliness. And nothing will you value like unto this, nor hold so dear. Nothing you remember that made your heart seem to sing with joy has ever brought you even a little part of the happiness this sight will bring you. Well, it sounds like a wonderful promise, doesn't it? Is this a real promise? Is it something that you can expect to experience today or tomorrow? Well, it better be. And you hold the key. Are you willing to embrace it as the possibility today or tomorrow? More than that, are you willing to embrace it as a sort of fundamental obligation that you're under to be sane and to see everything as it is? Now. Not put off, not delayed, not procrastinated. Again, nothing that you remember that made your heart seem to sing with joy has ever brought you even a little part of the happiness this sight will bring you, for you will see the Son of God. You will behold the beauty which the Holy Spirit loves to look upon and which he thanks the Father for, while you're neglecting to thank the Father for, and which you're neglecting to look upon because you're fascinated with your perceptions and your processes of improving your perceptions so that you might become an ever more valid presence without being joined with your source, your Father, your very being. The Holy Spirit, He was created to see this for you until you learn to see it for yourself. And all His teaching leads to seeing it and giving thanks with Him. Wow. When you're willing to forgive and you see things truly, there is joy, there is gratitude, there is thankfulness. It just exudes from you because you feel it so completely. Mind you, this is a description of what you are to expect when you're practicing the holy instant. Dynamic, actual change, resurrection, the replacement of sin, disease, and death with life, truth, and love. Imperfection replaced by immaculate, amazing, awesome perfection. That is inviolable, which you will never again be tempted to look at with a bias that screws the experience of it up. What we're talking about when we use the words holy instant is a dynamic activity, a dynamic action, a dynamic circumstance, if you will, in which the laws of God prevail. And you see that they were never undone. And you see that the perfection of everything never lapsed. That there was no variableness in it, and there is not, and there cannot be. You should not expect from week to week to have no major changes as a result of your studying the course or as a result of your practicing the holy instant. So all of this loveliness that we've been talking about here, this loveliness is not a fantasy. It is the real world. Bright and clean and new, with everything sparkling under the open sun. Wow. This is what I've been talking about when I say to look at a thing and want to experience the more of what God is being there than what you're experiencing. Because all you're confronted with at any moment is the kingdom of heaven, is reality. If you don't hear this often, you will forget to look with curiosity. You will forget that there is something more here to be experiencing. Something more to be experiencing than injury or damage or decay or deterioration. And if you forget to look with curiosity, you deny yourself the experience of resurrection. Resurrection of your misperceptions, of your false beliefs, and their apparent results on what you see. So that you're seeing a new heaven and a new earth. So that you are experiencing Easter whether it's midnight on a Thursday night or 4 a.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, or whether it's Easter Sunday, you know what? Easter eggs are an excellent focus of attention to look and see the more of what God is being there than what you're seeing. The Easter egg, which seems to have nothing to do with Easter, is a perfect subject for the meaning of Easter to be brought home to you and change you forever. So this year, don't have the Easter egg hunt just for the kids. Have it for yourself as well. So this real world, sparkling under the open sun, well, nothing is hidden here, for everything has been forgiven. And there are no fantasies to hide the truth. You're not holding on to or practicing your conscientious ignorance, which you do by defining everything yourself and ignoring the definitions or meanings that the Father has embodied in the movement of His being, called that thing you're looking for, and defining incorrectly. The bridge between that world and this is so little and so easy to cross that you could not believe it is the meeting place of worlds so different. What is this little bridge that bridges the gap between the unreal world and the real world? What is it? Forgiveness, the act of forgiving. That's the bridge between illusion and reality. You see, the problems seem to be so great and so complex that it's going to be impossible. No. Because the answer, the call, is for a little thing called forgiveness, which everyone is capable of doing. But you just have to be willing to look at the apparently unforgivable or the apparently impossible detrimental movements and withdraw your determination, your definition, and wish to see the more of what God is being right there, in spite of how you are perceiving it, in spite of how everyone else is perceiving it, in spite of how the news broadcasters are defining it. The bridge between that world and this is so little and so easy to cross that you could not believe it is the meeting place of worlds so different. Yet, this little bridge is the strongest thing that touches on this world at all. All of your fantasies are weak compared to the strength that forgiveness embodies. Such a little thing to forgive. It's something every single one of you knows how to do and can do. You just have to withdraw the strength you're using to withhold your forgiveness because it's so justified for you to claim guilt, 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 and apply it to everything. Well, it's just a material world. What can you expect? Things go wrong. Things die. You see? Change your mind. Change your mind by being willing to forgive. This little step, so small it has escaped your notice, is a stride through time into eternity, and beyond all ugliness into beauty that will enchant you and will never cease to cause you wonderment at its perfection. This is the promise. This is the reason for the holy instant. This is the reason for the holy instant. This step, the smallest ever taken by anything, is still the greatest accomplishment of all in God's plan of atonement. All else is learned, but this is given. Complete and wholly perfect. When you learn something, you acquire the knowledge. You get. But forgiveness even has the word give in it, doesn't it? You give for your anger the willingness to see the truth. You give for your frustration your willingness to see the truth. All else is learned, but this littlest step is given, complete and wholly perfect. No one but him who planned salvation, the Father, could complete it thus. You see? It's amazing because forgiveness means that you have to abandon the exercise of authority in the form of judgment that you place on things and persons and places for the purpose of exercising power and force from you in order to make you a more substantial presence. But forgiveness is the abandoning of that. And it's the invitation given to truth to enter so that it might be willingly received and felt. So that, what? Resurrection can occur. The real world in its loveliness you learn to reach. Fantasies are all undone, and no one and nothing remains still bound by them, and by your own forgiveness you are free to what? To see. You're free to acknowledge. You're free to be presented with the truth and have it register with you. It's amazing, isn't it? That such a simple thing is the means of returning to your right mind, regaining your sanity, experiencing your resurrection, along with the resurrection of everything else. Yet what you see is only what you have made with the blessing of your forgiveness on it. This world and universe that you call a material world and universe is of your making. It's constituted of all your definitions. Definitions, false definitions, applied to the kingdom of heaven. That's what it is. But when you see the world transformed, it is the kingdom of heaven not denied by you. It's you looking at the falsities that you have made with forgiveness, so that what covers over the actuality of reality slips away because you're not reinforcing it. And you see a world that sparkles under the open sun and sounds is as beautiful as the description we've read. Again, this is Easter. This is the time to have resurrection in your experience, yours and everything's. It should be a day of great expectation on your part. Because again, that really is the obligation you're under. You are the holy son and daughter of God. And being that, you're under the obligation to not miss out on the experience of your birthright. How's that for a nice, positive way of putting it? To at least make it sound like an interesting thing to engage in. And with this final blessing of God's Son upon himself, the real perception, born of the new perspective he has learned, has served its purpose. The practice of forgiveness that uncovers the real world has served its purpose. Now listen to this. The stars will disappear in light, and the sun which opened up the world to beauty will vanish. Perception will be meaningless when it has been perfected, for everything that has been used for learning will have no function. Well, that makes it sound like all of this is going to disappear, doesn't it? But that's not what it means. What it means is that the moment you gave a false definition to a glass, or to the water that's in the glass, the minute you gave a false perception, a false definition to something, that thing became a learning tool because it sat there forever, as long as you were entertaining the false definition. It sat there as the opportunity to rediscover what it truly was. And so this part of the kingdom of heaven that looks like a glass became not part of the kingdom of heaven, but a material object which, because it's actually divine, has a function, a learning function, a teaching function. It's there, staring you in the face, confronting you with the divinity of itself, and waiting for you to discover it, and insisting upon your discovery. You see? So, what it appeared to be, and the purpose it seemed to serve, will disappear. It will not have to serve that purpose anymore. But it will still be there, being the presence of God, being the presence of love, constituted of the substance which is spirit, and so on. Perception will be meaningless when it has been perfected. When you've practiced the holy instant, and you've let the true perception in, then you'll be having the true conscious experience of it, and perception will vanish. Perceptions are variable. One day you can look at a beautiful painting and be moved tremendously by it, and another day when you're depressed and you look at the same painting, your perception of it will be flat, dull, and you'll wonder why anybody ever sat down with a brush and painted a single stroke on that canvas. Perceptions change, but that which you have perceptions of are real. And when perceptions, through your learning from the Holy Spirit, help you arrive at seeing the presence of God there instead of what you had been seeing, then perception becomes no longer useful in any way. And so you'll stop having perceptions of the thing, and you'll have the direct experience of it. It will not disappear. Again, perception will be meaningless when it has been perfected, for everything that has been used for learning will have no function, will no longer have any function. Nothing will ever change. No shifts, nor shadings, no differences, no variations which made perception possible will occur. Now mind you, the movement of God, the movement of creation, is not what makes perception possible. The movement of creation will still be infinitely present. God's being will not be thwarted by your no longer bringing perceptions into play as you look at God's creation and witness them for what they truly are, and in doing that, co-create with Him. Nothing will ever change. Everything will always be perfect. Every movement will be perfect eternally. Everything that is moving will be perfect eternally. Every conscious experience of it will be changeless. It will be perfect eternally. You see? Creation, its movement, and the experience of it will not be variable. It will not be able to sin, suffer, deteriorate, die, get better, be resurrected, and so on. But it doesn't mean it will disappear. The perceptions of the real world will be so short that you will barely have time to thank God for it. For God will take the last step swiftly when you have reached the real world and have been made ready for Him with a capital H. So, you will have the experience of resurrection and true perception momentarily. Because when you have that experience, you're going to have the most gigantic aha that you have ever had. And in that aha, meaning, I see it, I understand, you come home, you come back into your right mind. Ascension occurs. You see? Now, that means that every moment and everything you experience in every moment is an opportunity for resurrection and spontaneous ascension. Today, now, tomorrow. You see. Don't go through this week, don't go through another day without having an active curiosity to see resurrection occur. Why? Because you're willing to abandon your definitions and say, Father, what is the truth here? Because it's your obligation to see the truth, to experience the truth, because it's your birthright, it's your nature, it's your function that could never have really been taken away and therefore hasn't been. You see? The real world is attained simply by the complete forgiveness of the old. The world you see without forgiveness. And the reason you see it without forgiveness is because you're applying your own well-developed definitions and meanings to it all. And then you're blaming the things for the definitions you've applied to them. The only way to forgive them is to abandon them, the meanings you're applying. And to abandon the arrogance that says what you believe and what you know and what you have defined things as is absolutely correct, flawless, unattackable. It's not a very great cost to abandon that arrogance and that confidence. And this little tiny step, which is forever present with you, can be practiced immediately. The step of forgiveness. The two-step. The great transformer of perception will undertake with you the careful searching of the mind that made this world, the one of the definitions you're using, and uncover to you the seeming reasons for your making it. He will show you that there is no reason here at all. The meanings you've given to everything have no reason, because the definitions and meanings don't arise out of what truly is, just out of imagination. Each spot his reason touches, and his is the Holy Spirit. Each spot his reason touches grows alive with beauty, and what seemed ugly in the darkness of your lack of reason is suddenly released to loveliness. That's resurrection. Here, now, today, in this world. Not even what the Son of God made in insanity could be without a hidden spark of beauty which gentleness could release. So, the loveliness of love that abides in you and is the substance of you and is the mover of you is always embodied in everything, including that which you ignorantly create in a conflicted way. And the moment you release your definitions, the moment forgiveness comes into play, the loveliness of you that was embodied there becomes illuminated to you. And you say, this is heaven, and you know it's true. All this beauty will rise to bless your sight as you look upon the world with forgiving eyes. This is what Easter means. All this beauty will rise to bless your sight as you look upon the world with forgiving eyes. Correction, resurrection, healing. For forgiveness literally transforms vision and lets you see the real world reaching quietly and gently across chaos and removing all illusions which had twisted your perception and fixed it on the past. as I said last week, mind maintains all identities, from a blade of grass to a star, as distinct and eternal. Continuing here, the smallest leaf becomes a thing of wonder, and the blade of grass a sign of God's perfection. So, don't be too quick to deny the world, and don't be too quick to discount it as something that will disappear. What will disappear is the misperception. And what will disappear is what I'm going to call the ego motivation that gave meaning to the development of perceptions and misperceptions. That's all. From the forgiven world, the Son of God is lifted easily into his home. What does that mean? It means that from the state of resurrection, the Son of God can easily be lifted into his home. The movement of ascension. The movement of ascension. Where the shift occurs and you say, aha, I understand. And it's not an intellectual understanding. I can come close to sharing with you the experience by saying that it is a shift from body identification, where you think you are a body, a small thing, in the middle of an infinite universe that has a little bit of flesh in its head called a brain that can think, that gives the experience of a mind. It's a shift from that to the experience of being mind, in which the world and universe and body and leaves and stars exist as ideas, which are distinct and eternal and awesomely perfect and incredible to experience. From the forgiven world, the Son of God is lifted easily into his home. The forgiven world is while you are still thinking you're in a body, but you're having an experience of the kingdom of heaven instead of the world, the material world and universe. And in that experience, still from a viewpoint or a vantage point of the body, you say, you realize, you understand, the meaning is clear, and you involuntarily abandon the body identification and let yourself be mind, in which infinity and eternity is and is being, creation, unfolding. From the forgiven world, the Son of God is lifted easily into his home, and there he knows that he has always rested there in peace. This other was a transitory misperception that didn't change a thing in actuality. Even salvation will become a dream and vanish from his mind. For salvation is the end of dreams. And with the closing of the dream, will have no meaning. Salvation will have no meaning once the dream is ended, because you will understand, and you will not need to be released from anything. You might say salvation is complete. Who, awake in heaven, could dream that there could ever be need of salvation? Now, I understand that there are some who listen to what I'm saying who feel that I've become somewhat aggressive and pushy, and perhaps impatient, and perhaps irritated, all of which is not true. But you know what? As I've said, you all have the obligation to experience things as they truly are, because it's your birthright and it's your function. So there is a push, you might say, arising out of your very being, out of the sanity of you that you've been avoiding. Listen, how much do you want salvation? I'm just saying, hey, want it. Want it now, 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 tomorrow. Not off in the distant future. It will give you the real world. Listen to this. Trembling with readiness to be given you. I promise you that everything that you see is a conscious idea of God. And it wants you to experience it truly. It wants you not to escape its meaning. Because when you're not escaping its meaning, communion is occurring. Your oneness with it and its oneness with you is occurring. And nothing is missing. Infinity is one, which means all that is included in it has the conscious intent to experience oneness, infinitely speaking. I've said in the past that when you decide you want to get in touch with your guide rejoices because your guide has waited a long time for you to arrive at a point of realizing that he or she exists and that you're reaching out. And so in your reaching out, it's not a one-sided deal. Your guide is reaching out to you as well. It's a mutual endeavor, which makes it easier. And likewise, all of creation is reaching out to you right now, desiring for you to experience it without misperceptions. And I'll tell you something else. That's why when you let in the barest experience of it, it feels like you are being loved with an infinite love. I'm going to go back. How much do you want salvation? It will give you the real world, trembling with readiness to be given you. The eagerness of the Holy Spirit to give you this is so intense he would not wait, although he waits in patience. You see? So am I getting pushy? Am I getting aggressive? Am I trying to make you to do something? Am I trying to make you do something you don't want to do? Or that maybe you shouldn't have to do? No, not at all. All of creation, all of the infinite oneness of being is directed at your having this experience, motivating you with love to let it in. With love, not impatience. With love, not irritation. Meet his patience with what? Your impatience. So now the Course is pushing you. But actually it's just encouraging you to feel a motivation that you're not otherwise feeling. And is encouraging you to feel it and practice it. Meet his, the Holy Spirit's, patience with your impatience at delay in meeting him. Go out in gladness to meet with your Redeemer and walk with him in trust out of this world, the one you've made up, and into the real world of beauty and forgiveness. Wow. You may not ever have thought of Easter in terms of the word forgiveness. But forgiveness begets resurrection. And resurrection begets ascension. Yours and everything that you're experiencing. Happy Easter.